Hey, everybody, and welcome back to this segment number 2 of Sports Central. I'm Mark Jackson, my co-host, Mr. Neil Duncan. And Neil,
sir.
Wow, what a great segment with Jessica Roberts talking about the triathlon.
It's easy
there
for
we
you
go.
To say,
yeah,
but
easy for me to say.
Ironman,
yeah, the Ironman triathlon. Yep, and the
70.3,
geocaching.
Geocaching, it's really one of those things that's catching on across the country. So we're just happy to have it here in Polk County. But this segment brought to us by the Hampton Inn in Winter Haven, another great tourism sports marketing partner that makes everything possible.
Absolutely, they are fantastic over there, and one of our top properties in the entire county. But Kermit Weeks, many thanks go out to him for making himself available for our terrific PGTV camera crew who are every place, everywhere, almost 24/7 it seems.
I don't know how they get it done. But,
I don't either, but yep, some terrific talent there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Neil, we were counting the other day, number of days before the NFL
checking it off
preseason starts. It's not too far off, everybody. And, you know, we really have a great opportunity. The draft is behind us, going into mini camps, and all sorts of things going on. But the man in Central Florida that knows more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers than anybody else, anyone, is Mr. Rick Brown.
Oh, I thought you were going to say me.
No.
We are happy to have Rick with us, of course, the beat writer from the Ledger Media Group. And Rick, welcome to the show, and it's always a pleasure to have you here.
My friends, how y'all doing today?
Hey, we're doing great.
Hey, one thing before we start, let me ask you, did I hear something about Woodstock and music?
No. How long have you known Mark Jackson? You did not give him a second opportunity to say something.
I was just curious. I thought I'm getting old now, so my hearing.
So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
yes, the Bucs.
Well, you looked at the Bucs last year, and in the season they had, and of course, a brand new coach, Coach Schiano, and what they were trying. He was trying to instill a toughness about them because Raheem Morris, the previous coach, was more of a players coach, buddy, really, it's just a different philosophy.
It is.
He came in and we're not going to do this. And very demanding and that type of stuff. And he really changed the attitude within the Buccaneer organization. Now, they had a lot of needs going into the draft. Okay, so we're going to talk about that, but probably the biggest news that we need to talk about right away is how does it impact the Buccaneers now that number 20, Ronde Barber, has retired? You know, probably the last piece of that Super Bowl team is now gone from the Buccaneers. You've been around Ronde for a long time. What was that like, his announcement, and where do the Bucs go from here without Ronde Barber?
You know, it really wasn't much of a surprise when Ronde decided to retire. 16 years, and what he's done for this organization was amazing and was incredible. And think about it, guys. 15 years at cornerback. 15 years and 13 straight years of never missing a game. Think about that, guys. 13 years of never missing a day at work. I can't say I've done that before.
He wasn't the place kicker, is what you're saying.
You're absolutely right. And at a physical position like cornerback, where you have to deal with the wide receivers, deal with the running backs, deal with linemen. And then his last season, to play at a Pro Bowl type level, because he was a Pro Bowl alternate, to move to safety and still put up high numbers, well, you would think, well, he could have come back. I mean, it wasn't like he decided to stop because of his play had diminished, like we've seen athletes do in the past.
Hold on for too long.
Hold on for too long. No, he decided to get out when the time is right. This was the right time for him. What it does, though, it leaves a little void in the leadership department for the Bucs.
Right.
Someone's going to have to step up and take that mantle and say, okay, guys, this is my team now. This is our team. We have to do it collectively now. Ronde did it his own way for numerous years, although he had help early on. Right. Still, they associated the Tampa Bay Bucs and Ronde Barber. When you say number 20, you think Ronde Barber. He's no longer there. Who's going to pick up that mantle? I'll tell you.
Just getting ready to ask.
Go ahead. No, Gerald McCoy.
Yeah.
They drafted him a few years ago to be that guy, to finally step up and be that leader. It is his time now. This is his defense. He made great strides last year, his first year since becoming a pro, playing all 16 games, and he was rewarded with a Pro Bowl pick selection. He was in the Pro Bowl.
Right.
So he is the natural fit. This is what the team wants. This is what the team needs, him to step up, take over that leadership and say, okay, this is my team, get on my back, let's go. He needs help, though, and I think he'll get it.
Well, we can talk about in the we're going to keep you around for a couple segments here because there's so much to dissect in this.
Indeed.
But you look at the things that Ronde did, going back to him for a second. There is no other player in NFL history with 25 sacks and 40-plus interceptions.
That's right.
So you got to replace that. And I don't know that you can. Obviously, he won a Super Bowl championship. He's number 2 in NFL history in tackles by a defensive back.
And number 1 cornerback.
Right. So you're not talking about someone who played good.
Right.
You're talking about someone who played exceptionally well. And I guess my question, he was a third-round pick, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, he was, out of UVA, 1997.
Is he a first-round Hall of Famer, first-ballot Hall of Famer?
You know, I went back and forth with this before he retired. And I always said no, because when you think of Hall of Fame, you think of the very best. And if you go back over Ronde's career, was there any year that he was the very best corner? That he was the guy that, he wasn't that lockdown corner. He wasn't that corner who would just make play after play after play. But then I started looking at the numbers and doing research. And you see that, and you mentioned some of the stats, like the only player in NFL history to do this. The only player in NFL history to have 40 and 20. When you start talking about NFL history, that's something big. Mm-hmm. And over his career, the longevity of his career, along with the high caliber that he played, I now have changed my mind, and I think Ronde is a first ballot Hall of Famer. Wow.
He's a guy with some impressive stats on an annual basis. Mm-hmm. He's always near the top. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to the Hall of Fame, there's a number of ways to take a look at it. Right. But the impact on the sport of football, National Football League, I don't know, it's a no-brainer, in my opinion. And I think his character has quite a bit to do with that too. He was a smart football player.
He was.
You know, he's not only smart, but he had good character in the locker room. So you add all of those things up, you're going, this is the type of guy that deserves to be in a Hall of Fame, not just because of 1 or 2 superstar years, but because of 15 years of quality play, setting records. Obviously, we talked about 25 sacks and 40 interceptions and all this type of stuff. Is that impressive? You bet. To me, the longevity is the deciding factor.
And I think that really has to go a long way in it because you said his body of work. It wasn't just 1 or 2 years. Right. He did this. It was each and every year. That's something, guys. And I think a lot of voters and a lot of fans sometimes forget, or they get caught up on lockdown corners, lockdown Deion Sanders, who didn't tackle, by the way, except for Bills, as he said in his Hall of Fame speech. Ronde did it all. Yeah. He tackled. He caught interceptions. Right. He made sacks. He deflected the ball. He did everything, and his character was impeccable. For that, I think it deserves a nod.
Well, do you agree with the statement that he doesn't make the Hall of Fame for the first half of his career? Because he was overshadowed by Warren Sapp and Lynch and Derek Brooks and some of those guys. I mean, you look back at that defense, and it's like any great team. You don't realize in the moment how great they are.
Right.
Now you look back at that defense and some of the the horrible defenses that the Bucs have had since then. So he doesn't necessarily make it in those first years.
I agree.
The longevity, again, it's the longevity of what he was able to do over that course.
And I agree. And just the consistency.
Right.
That is why. And again, I cannot say this enough. When you start talking about NFL, the best in the NFL at these numbers, that's Hall of Fame.
Well, we've
got to go to break. Yeah. But we'll talk a little bit more about Ronde Barber in just a minute. Rick, about the only thing you haven't done with the Buccaneers is put on a pair of pads and, getting out there at game day. and I want to get some of your insights into
I would love to see that.
and talk a little bit about that. Talk a little bit about the locker room, and some of those things. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be back right after this with more Tampa Bay Buccaneers football and Rick Brown. Stick around. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Sports Central. Mark Jackson along with Neil Duncan. Some great footage there from the Rowdy Swim Meet in Winter Haven. What's really interesting about that, Eddie Twyford, who's very active in the city of Winter Haven, doing a little bit of commentary for us. I'm going to have to tease him about that. But the Lakeland Derby. Lakeland Volunteers in Medicine. What a great program. It's been going on for a long time. And, it's another testament, if you will, to the quality of life that we enjoy in Polk County and certainly in the city of Lakeland and in Winter Haven with the swim meet and so on. It's all that's good about Polk County.
Absolutely, and it's great to be able to send out PGTV and send the crew out to not only the events that we're bringing in, but some of those local events that go on here in the community because it's a nice blend. And
we were just talking real sidebar here off air with Al, who put that last package together using a Canon T4. I'm kind of looking over to Al right now to make sure I had that name right. But the fact of the matter is, that's film production type quality. And I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the shots, and going, this is unbelievable. So again, a testament to PGTV, the quality of their productions, and the people they have putting it together.
Well,
so
we've talked about in the past that having this show gives us a competitive advantage when recruiting events to Polk County because we can show our event organizers we have the ability to promote the event in Polk County. So, great partner.
We go on to that for a whole show.
Yeah,
but,
great partner in
nonetheless.
PGTV. Another great partner is Harry's Seafood Bar and Grill, who is the sponsor of this segment. And then going back to another great partner that's waiting on us to get back to him, the Ledger Media Group, and Rick Brown here to talk some more Buccaneer football. And we were talking about Ronde Barber and what his loss to the team and how Jerome McCoy needs to step up and probably be that leadership role. But a neat story coming out of the draft maybe, and we can kind of go down through the draft picks because the defense was horrible. But one of the pickups they made was on the offense side of the ball, the offensive side, with a running back from Miami who, oh, by the way, was from Ridge High School, Mike James. Tell us a little bit about that pickup.
How about that? Ridge community. Hey, congratulations to Ridge. I mean, not one, but two guys from Ridge. School just 8 years old, football program. The school is new, and they get two guys drafted in the NFL in the 6th round. Mike James from the Bucks and Vince Williams also got drafted, and that's just a neat story. And Mike James, neat kid. I mean, and I'm not just jiving because I've known him since he was in high school, and he is legit. And this is what I said when you look at Mike James' career. A lot of times he's been a backup running back, and he's followed behind some good backs down in Miami. But his senior year, he was named team MVP. Now, Miami wasn't a bad team last year, and to be named MVP of your team as a backup running back, that tells you about his leadership qualities, that tells you about his production on the field as well. What the Bucks said when they drafted him, which was amazing because Mike said that he grew up a Bucks fan. I mean, it's his home team, right? Yeah. It's his home team. So, but they compared him to another Buck back that people will recognize, Ernest Graham.
Yeah.
And when you mention Ernest Graham, you don't mention that lightly because Ernest was a very unselfish guy. I mean, he played running back, fullback. He went down on special teams, punt coverage. Whatever you needed, Ernest Graham would do.
He was a true team player.
A true team player. He probably would have sold tickets and popcorn if they would have asked him to. He's that type of guy. Mike James, when they mentioned him, and they held Ernest Graham in a high regard.
Right.
So for the general manager, Mark Dominic, to mention Mike James and Ernest Graham is on that level, that says a lot about what they think of this kid. And they want him to come in and be that backup to Doug Martin, who had a fantastic rookie year. They traded LeGarrette Blount, let him go. So now Mike James has a chance to come in, be that backup running back, be that guy who can play on all 4 downs, including, when we say 4 downs, we mean special teams as well, and really provide that spark. and be that community guy as well, which you've seen the Bucs do the last few years, trying to get character guys. Mike James is a character guy.
Well, another one. You know, we're talking about a 6th-round pick here now.
6th round, yeah.
But, you know, a guy that just retired was a 6th-round pick out of Alcorn State. And that guy's name is Donald Driver.
Wow.
All-time leader. Donald Driver came from literally living in the back of a car when he was a child to one of the most beloved players in Packer history and the all-time receptions leader. The point is that I don't care if you're a 6th-round pick, it's what's up here, it's what's here, and then, of course, what's in the legs.
Oh, yeah.
But it's,
Tom Brady.
There's another one.
Exactly.
6th-round
I
pick.
mean, you can go all the way through, but the neat thing I think about this is, of course, Ahmad Black is on the Bucs roster. You have 2 Polk County guys, Ahmad from Lakeland High School, Mike James from Ridge High School, that are on the Bucs roster.
Yeah.
Okay. Some counties in this, a lot of counties, most of the counties in this country don't have 2 players in the entire NFL.
You're right.
We have 2 on the same roster. Last year had 2 on the same roster up in Pittsburgh with Chris Rainey and Pouncey.
Marquise.
Marquise Pouncey.
Right.
So it goes back to the insanity of the talent that is Polk County when it comes to athletics.
Rick, you know, just to touch on that a little bit, we're going to digress because we want to certainly focus on the Bucs in this segment, but talent that's coming out of Polk, you know, you got to have some. Number one, you got to have some great coaching.
Yes.
Some great genetics, and some great training, and so on. If you could pinpoint, you know, maybe I covered them all. I'm not sure, but there's something. Maybe it's in the water. But can you share some insights into that? I've always been curious about that.
You know, it starts with the person, the individual, because you have to want to be great. And when it comes to even getting to college, you have to have that certain pizzazz, that certain it factor to even be great enough to earn a college scholarship. And then to jump up that level to the NFL, you have to want it. So I think it starts within the individual. But you cannot leave out the coaches. I mean, they nurture you. They guide you in the right direction. Whether it's coaches, principals sometimes, they keep those athletes in the right direction, on the right path. And it's a combination. It's not just one thing. If it was just one thing, the NFL would be overrun with talent.
Everybody would,
You know, everybody would. I would have been a 1st-round draft pick if it was just one thing.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
I'm trying not to here. Try not to. But you get my point here.
Right.
So it's a combination of things, and Polk County is just fortunate enough to have the coaches who have been around, the longevity, the Bill Castles, the Richard Tates, who have been able to nurture these guys to maybe even put a little fire under their behinds. And now look at them. And it's a wonderful thing. The Ernest Joes and Kathleen, it's just a great thing.
Another good one is real quick, and we found this out through a number of things that we've done, but having this player's mom on this show a couple of times, just loved it, and that's Wayne Gandy's mom.
Yes.
But I think at home, when you have a Mama Gandy like that, who is just one of the nicest ladies, she loved coming on this show and just talking, and well, if he gets out of line, and she could probably take him down. I mean, she's a spirit.
That's Mama.
But she kept him grounded.
Indeed.
And even at the football camps, if she would say something, yes, Mom. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean, the guy's 30-some years old, and, Mama Gandy says something, yes, ma'am.
Right.
Without a doubt.
Okay. Yep.
Real quick, obviously, a lot of athletes to honor. June 25th, the All Sports Awards and Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We're going to talk more about those individuals coming up soon, and it's a wealth of talent here in Polk County. But speaking of very talented individuals, the Bucs had one of the worst defenses in the NFL, and probably the worst secondary in the NFL. Essentially used their 1st-round pick at the 13th spot when they traded with the Jets to get Darrelle Revis.
Yes.
Do you like that pick or the trade? And what do you think it does for the defense just with him? And they've made some other adjustments on defense. So let's talk about the defense getting better.
I thought it was a great 1st-round pick. I mean, it's not too often that you get a all-pro corner who can do it all. A shutdown corner. We were talking about what Ronde isn't. This guy is a shutdown corner. This guy can make a difference. And if healthy, because he is coming off the ACL, if healthy, and if he can return to that form, he helps the Bucs tremendously. You add him with a Deshaun Golden, who was brought over in free agency at safety to virtually replace Ronde. You've upgraded your secondary. And now you go from the worst secondary in the NFL to perhaps one of the best, especially with the pick of Jonathan Banks in the second round of this year's draft. So you pick up 2 corners and an all-pro safety.
One of which played in the Super Bowl last year.
Exactly. That's great.
You turned it around.
You turned it around quickly. Yeah. And now, if healthy, and if they can pick things up, the secondary has improved tremendously.
Jump on injury. You said something that sort of intrigued me, but injury, huge factor in the NFL, career-ending many, many times. Yeah. And we see all sorts of different types of therapy and rehabilitation and all of that type of stuff. Is an injury today as career-ending as it was, say, 10 years ago? In other words, are the tools, the medical tools, sports medicine there today that can prolong someone's career and elevate their performance at the same time?
Definitely. I mean, just technology-wise, I mean, things are. Remember, in the days you get ACL, your career's over. Now, I mean, Adrian Peterson last year came back in 5 months.
And was that's what I was going right here.
And didn't miss a beat.
And ran for 2,000 yards.
Yeah.
So it's incredible now. You can do it, and you're better now.
I asked you last night on the radio version of Sports Central on Talk 1430 WLKF, but is this a playoff team?
Right now?
Did they get better in the offseason with the personnel changes? Now, injuries, like Mark said, a lot of things can change it, but on paper right now, is this a playoff team?
On paper, it is a playoff team. On paper, it's a playoff team, but as I always said, the Washington Redskins should have been Super Bowl champions many times in the past.
We can't get through a segment without the Packers or the Redskins.
You have to do it on the
Buccaneer
field.
fans, I'm there for you. I'm not talking about anybody else.
You have to do it on the field. They have to do it on the field. We'll see, but on paper, yes.
But that's the content of our character, Mr. Duncan. No. Correct, Rick?
Yeah. Correct. Indeed.
Hey, with that, thanks for coming. We're going to go to break.
I appreciate it, guys, as always.
Well, we've got to get you back to talk about preseason. Maybe we can plan that in July or something, and let's see how things are looking after preseason.
Let's do it.
That would be awesome. Hey, Rick, sincerely, thank you so much. We always enjoy seeing you, and you've got a long summer ahead of you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Well,